Okay, when I say the word drone, what pops into your head? Probably a quadcopter, right? Something buzzing around. But what if I told you that the original drone was smaller, way quieter, and completely alive? We're going to dig into this because the real history of aerial surveillance is so much weirder than you could ever imagine.
And hey, if you're feeling a little skeptical, you are not alone. When this story started making the rounds again, a Reddit user named Progbun pretty much said what everyone was thinking. It sounds like something made up, like science fiction, but I promise you, this is 100% real, and we've got the declassified documents to prove it. So let's start at the very beginning. Long before we had GPS and lithium-ion batteries, the very first unmanned aerial vehicles were pigeons. Yep, pigeons. They were the original platform for getting a literal bird's-eye view of the world. Now, our story doesn't start in some top secret military lab. Nope. It starts in a German pharmacy, of all places. Back in 1903, an apothecary by the name of Julius Neubronner was using carrier pigeons to deliver urgent prescriptions. It was basically a low-tech, feathered Amazon Prime delivery service. But then, one day, one of his trusty delivery pigeons just vanished. It eventually came back totally fine, but a whole month later. Now, most people would probably be annoyed, right? Not Neubronner. He was fascinated. He had to know, where did it go? What did it see? And that curiosity sparked this incredible idea. What if he could actually see what the pigeon saw? So in 1907, he actually did it. He built a tiny wearable camera for his birds. At first, the German patent office literally laughed him out of the room. They rejected his idea, saying there was no way a pigeon could carry a camera. So what did he do? He sent them photos taken by the pigeon. And in 1908, they gave him the patent. His invention became this huge sensation all across Europe. The German military even gave it a shot in World War I, but honestly, by then, airplanes were getting so good it just couldn't compete. And you have to appreciate the ingenuity here. I mean, we're talking about a tiny 75-gram camera strapped to a custom-made leather harness with a little aluminum breastplate. But the coolest part? It had a pneumatic timer that would automatically snap a picture in mid-flight. He'd then develop the photos and sell them as postcards to people who were just blown away by the idea. It was basically the GoPro of the 1900s. So for decades, the pigeon camera was just this charming little footnote in history, a cool, quirky invention. But then, the Cold War happened, and this charming little idea got resurrected by a very, very different group of people for a very, very different reason. That's right. Fast forward to the 1970s, and the CIA's own Office of Research and Development literally dusted off Noli Brunner's old plans. They looked at this thing and saw something nobody else did, the potential for a totally unique kind of spy. And this is the obvious question, right? I mean, at this point, the CIA had the U-2 spy plane. They had satellites flying way up in space. They could see everything. So why on earth would they turn back the clock and use a common bird? Well, it all came down to one word: altitude. A satellite is hundreds of miles away. A spy plane is tens of thousands of feet in the air. The pictures they take are amazing, for sure, but they're wide angle. A pigeon, though? A pigeon flies just a couple hundred feet off the ground. The kind of up-close, high-resolution detail it could capture, it was something no other technology could match. And of course, the CIA's version was a serious upgrade. Neubronner's was all mechanical, using air pressure. The CIA's camera was way smaller, way lighter, and had a tiny battery-powered motor to automatically advance the film. This thing was built from the ground up for one purpose: spying. But the real genius of it was just how ordinary it was. Nobody looks twice at a pigeon. It could fly right over a sensitive Soviet shipyard or a military base, and it would just blend in. It was the perfect covert camera, hiding in plain sight. But the CIA wasn't done yet. Oh no. The story was about to get even crazier. Okay, so if you thought spy pigeons sounded like something out of an old Bond movie, just wait. What the CIA developed next is pure, uncut science fiction brought to life. They decided to shrink the drone down from a bird to an insect. And we only know about this because of declassified files like this one, released thanks to the Freedom of Information Act. This memo confirms the existence of a secret project with the most amazing name ever: the Insectothopter.
And here it is, the Insectothopter. It was a tiny drone disguised as a dragonfly. But this thing wasn't taking pictures. Its mission was even more delicate. It was designed to fly in undetected and plant a listening device.
I mean, just look at these objectives pulled right out of the project files. The goal was to fly this robotic dragonfly over 100 meters, land it near a target, and drop off a tiny microphone. And get this, how are they planning on steering it? With a laser beam. A laser-guided spy dragonfly in the 1970s.
The technical specs here are just mind-blowing for the time. It weighed a single gram, it could fly for 60 seconds, and had a range of 200 meters. And the propulsion system, this is the best part. It used a combination of flapping wings and venting gas out the back to provide a tiny amount of jet thrust. It was a miniature jet-powered dragonfly.
And don't think this was just some crazy idea that never worked. While it did have problems, apparently crosswinds were a major issue, the official declassified files concluded that, and I'm quoting here, technically the project must be evaluated as excellent. They actually built a working insect drone.
So, what began with a curious pharmacist wondering where his pigeon went evolved into one of the most secret and ambitious spy programs of the entire Cold War. This is the secret family tree of the modern drone.
You can literally draw a straight line through history. It starts with Neuberner's brilliant, simple idea. Then, that idea gets adapted for espionage with the CIA's Pigeon camera. Then, it gets miniaturized to an insane degree with the Insectopter. And all of that research, all of that bio-inspired engineering, directly paved the way for the tiny, insect-like drones that are being developed today. And that really brings us to the final, most important point. We only know about any of this stuff, the spy pigeons, the dragonfly drone, because the files were declassified 50 years after the fact. So it leaves you with this one kind of chilling question. If this is the secret tech they had in the 1970s, what's flying around right now that we don't know about?